Bobo! Bobo! There you are. You've been paid your lollipop. Now go. Light the torches near the forest's edge, so that our guests might find their way to our humble abode. Solitude is sometimes best society. John Milton's words have profound resonance for tonight's assemblage. For man, paradise was indeed lost, but not for them. They have forged their own, by retreating to lands of shadowed seclusion. They dwell there, far removed from the scornful eyes, a safe haven to contemplate the unthinkable. God created man from the dust of earth, and woman from his rib. But who created them? Perhaps his adversary? John Milton once penned the words of Lucifer, "It is better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven." Would he not wish then for like-minded company to loose upon the sons and daughters of Adam? A blasphemous syndicate dispatched to exact his pound of flesh? They are abominations that blur the line between man and beast, abhorred by the mortal and denied by their God. If they are Lucifer's flock to shepherd, what are they capable of? What unholy gifts might he have bestowed upon them? Their name is Legion, for they are many, but society has christened them Cryptids, a derivative of the Greek word meaning hidden. But I know just where to find them. I will open your eyes so that you may see the forest through the trees. Let us not begin a qualmless trespass into their elysiums of dirt. Instead, let them come to you. Way down they go, beyond the blighted patch of fallen timber, in twisted roots into the thick of thorny briar. Just remember, my children of rot, as you feast your eyes and glut your soul on their cursed ugliness, that they are looking back at you. It appears as though the torches have been lit.
The Cryptids are on their way now.
Darken the room, my children of rot, and we shall commence. Deborah Leeds was the mother of despair, and from her poisoned womb in a woeful wish it crawled. Her godless screams the trumpet call of revelations, forever shattering the peace and tranquility of the New Jersey pine barrens. Barren, by definition, means bleak and lifeless, a fitting scene. 1735 was the year marked on record for it to all begin. Leeds was strapped to her birthing bed, writhing in agony, resenting the pain brought by her unwanted 13th child. The earth itself seemed to tremble with her labor pains, as she hissed into her pillow, "If it is to be, may it be a devil." And with the final contractions, the gates of hell began to part, first breaching the horns of a goat, then the head of a horse, then the wings of a bat, and finally the cloven hooves and forked tail. Before its life had even begun, it was damned by the only creature meant to love it unconditionally. From bloody sheets the child leapt forth, laying waste to all who bared witness to its creation. The only living creature spared was its mother, abandoned to her madness and its cradle of horrors. 282 years later, the creature still soars through the night skies in search of the peace it's never known. Given no Christian name, he is branded the Jersey Devil. Documents have proven that a Deborah and Japhet Leeds existed and had 12 children in an area now known as Atlantic County, New Jersey. Atlantic County was once Leeds Point, the location where the story originated. The Jersey Devil itself can be traced as far back as the mid-1800s, in newspapers reporting animal mutilations, unearthly screams, and strange hoofprints. Napoleon's own brother, Joseph Bonaparte, claimed to have spotted the Jersey Devil prowling the grounds of his estate. Commodore Stephen Decatur, a key figure in the creation of the American Navy, said he shot the creature while testing naval cannons. The Jersey Devil was mid-flight, but remained unfazed by the cannon fire, instead retreating back into its forest home. In January of 1909, hundreds of reported sightings sent the city into a panic. The Jersey Devil was on a statewide rampage and was seen by over 100 people. Perhaps the most troubling incident involved the creature attacking a trolley car full of pedestrians. Police fired at the creature to no avail. Businesses and even schools closed in fear of what the Jersey Devil may have in store for them. The sightings ended as abruptly as they began. But the devil was spotted from time to time in the later 1900s. One recent eyewitness, a park ranger, described the creature as over 10 feet tall, with black matted fur and great horns atop its head. Of course, you don't have to take his word for it. I could introduce you to him. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't. The sigil of Baphomet, the inverted pentagram, the sabbatic goat. Of all the symbols to invoke Satan, the most recognizable would be that of a goat's head, their horns, ears, and chin, creating the 5 points of the downward star, each point marked with Hebrew letters to spell Leviathan, a biblical beast of the end times. The tortured heretics of the Knights Templar confessed to kneeling at this idol, kissing its hooved feet, proclaiming it to be their Muhammad. Even further back still, the Egyptians worshipped a deity known as Benabjid, the goat of Mendes, where it was considered a religious rite for women to copulate with goats before its congregation of faithful followers. It seems so very fitting, then, that upon the shoulders of not one, but 2 cryptids, you'll find the rectangular eyes of a goat staring back at you. One such creature is said to roam the Blue Hills of Kentucky, beneath the 90-foot railroad trestle, a popular suicide spot in Fisherville, dwells the Pope-like monster. Voice mimicry, hypnosis, and mind control are all at its disposal to lure you to your doom. Using a bloodied axe, it will dispatch all trespassers, whether they believe in him or not. Passing trains are also used to its advantage. His victims are unable to move, frozen in fear to the tracks, even as they begin to rumble with the oncoming locomotive, its whistle silencing their final desperate screams. It could be argued that he has 4 victims on record. February 17th, 1987, Jack J.C. Charles Baum answered the call of the Pope-like monster, which found him crushed beneath the train. He's remembered there today. Graffiti on the bridge eulogizes his memory, reading, "J.C., we love and miss you." Only months later, in May, David Wayne Bryant succumbed to his injuries, sustained from falling off the trestle while searching for the Goatman. In 2000, a boy named Nicholas Jewell also fell to his death. The most recent victim was in 2016. Roquel Bain and her boyfriend were foolhardy and sought out the supernatural. Having visited the haunted Waverly Hills Sanatorium, they then decided it was time to meet the Pope-like monster. They were met instead by the passing train, striking Roquel, throwing her to the rocky ground below. Were all of them simply at the wrong place at the wrong time? Or did the Pope-like monster get just what it wanted? The stars at night are big and bright deep in the heart of Texas. It is there, just north of Fort Worth, you'll find Denton, where another Goatman is said to wander. This time the Goatman is unfortunately a creation of man's own hate, a smoldering ember from the injustices of the past. In 1938, a successful black goat farmer named Oscar Washburn was unwelcomed by the racist bigots hidden in local government. Their clan rallied in the dead of night to do away with Mr. Washburn and his family. Dragged from his home and outnumbered, he was hung over the old Alton Bridge and his family murdered. While disposing of the bodies, they realized Mr. Washburn no longer swung from his noose, never to be seen again. The viaduct looms there today, a monument to man's prejudice. It is said that the ghost of Mr. Washburn roams there still, only with a goat's head replacing his own. A herd of phantom goats follows in tow as he crosses the rickety bridge in search of those who wronged him. Inhuman growls and his strangled gasps still echo from the gorge below. It is said that sheep represent the good of mankind, and goats the wicked. When the end comes, we will be divided as such. Sheep on the Lord's right for heaven, and us goats on the Lord's left for hell. And which corner will you stand? The Owl of Minerva, an ancient symbol of occult wisdom and forbidden knowledge. They spread their wings at dusk, seeing all that man cannot in the veil of night. Their screech an omen of death and misfortune to all who hear it. They are companion of Lilith, the Babylonian she-devil, aiding in her nightly feeding on the blood of infants. At Bohemian Grove, you'll find the graven image of an owl. The Illuminati, comprised of the world's elite, make a yearly pilgrimage to this massive 30-foot idol. There they perform the cremation of care, a mock-human sacrifice, ending in a human effigy being burnt at the owl's clawed feet. The owl isn't a creature of great significance in the world of malevolence, but it is in England you'll find its most lethal incarnation, and his name is the Owlman. His nest of bones the churchyard at St. Monan's. His perch, the bell tower high above the Lich Gate, which is inscribed, "It is good for me to draw nigh unto God." Perhaps a fortuitous warning, suggesting only a steadfast faith in God may put the creature at bay. Sightings began in 1976. Understandably shaken eyewitnesses describe a highly aggressive creature resembling both man and owl flying near the St. Monan's church. They say it was a great 6-foot figure, covered in silvery feathers, with wings where its arms should be, leathery black talons for feet, and its head that of an owl's, with fiery glowing eyes. The old St. Monan's church and the nearby woods are at the epicenter of ley lines. Ley lines were discovered by Alfred Watkins in the 1920s. They are straight lines that connect ancient monuments and holy sites around the globe. Where these grid lines of energy connect, a void is created, a portal of negative energy, an opening between the land of the living and realms unknown. Is this the origin of the Owlman? Ley lines creating a threshold only he can cross? A series of animal mutilations took place in 2012 in the city of Monan and the surrounding areas of Cornwall. The attacks coincided with St. Weinbold's Day, a satanic holiday that calls for blood to be shed. A horse and a herd of cattle all laid to waste in a field of gore. No suspect was ever apprehended. Were they sacrifices to the Owlman, or were they simply his prey? In 2016, sheep were also added to the slaughter. Again, no one was ever arrested. Maybe, just maybe, the Owlman struck again. No one can say for certain. But I know. And you will too, the next time you hear the screech of an owl outside your window. Over 11,000 souls lost. 5 tragedies foretold. A prophecy of doom incarnate. Does this harbinger of tribulations wish to warn you? Or does this creature foster only ill intent? Is he the forerunner marching humanity to ruination? Devastation has a name, and his name is Mothman. The first sighting of the Mothman prophetically came with the digging of a grave in West Virginia. It was a cold November afternoon in 1966. The bereaved had parted from Kuntz Cemetery, and 5 men were left to prepare a final resting place. As the shovels tore deeper into the earth, a figure could be seen moving closer and closer. It flew through the treetops, a hideous muddy thing, shaped like a man, but with a moth's wings and a cicada's head planted firmly into its chest. How could they have known that by the end, many, many, many more graves would be needed? Sightings of the Mothman were to continue, especially near the old World War II munitions factory in Point Pleasant, a suitable refuge for a thing bent on man's destruction. Though the assembly lines had stopped, it would create tragedy anew. The city of Point Pleasant was plagued by strange phenomenon as the sightings became more frequent. Experiences of precognition, poltergeist activity, mysterious phone calls, and radio disturbances all reached a crescendo just 10 days before Christmas in 1967. Silver Bridge was bumper to bumper with holiday traffic, car trunks full of presents, never to be opened. It took only one eye bar with a defect 0.1 inches deep to collapse the bridge. No one would celebrate that December, as 46 lives were lost in the icy water of the Ohio River, with 2 bodies never to be recovered. The Mothman wouldn't be seen in Point Pleasant again. His work there was done.
Silver Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. Silver Bridge is falling down. Mothman did it.
Sightings of the Mothman were to continue elsewhere. Each time calamity was soon to follow. Revelations 8:10. The third angel sounded his trumpet, and a great star blazing like a torch fell from the sky on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters turned bitter, and many people died from the waters that had become bitter. Wormwood, in Russian, translates to Chernobyl. 4,000 lives have been lost due to contamination following the 1987 nuclear meltdown. Just days before tragedy struck, a creature that can only be described as the Mothman was seen. It hovered near the power plant, circling the sky. Those who witnessed what they dubbed the Black Bird of Chernobyl experienced bad dreams and strange phone calls in the days leading to disaster. In 2001, only 5 days before the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center, a creature was spotted similar again to the Mothman. The figure was captured on camera. 2,996 people were soon to die. Like that old adage, history is always doomed to repeat itself. In July 2007, a creature like the Mothman was spotted near I-35 West Bridge in Milwaukee, Minnesota. In August, the bridge was to collapse, killing 13 people and leaving hundreds injured. Amongst the rubble, a semi-trailer truck was engulfed in flames near a school bus with 63 students. The children survived their ordeal. However, the truck driver was not so lucky. Firefighters had to route their hoses from miles away to extinguish the twisted wreckage. In La Junta, Mexico, 2009, again he was seen, its cry echoing from the stucco gates of the Monaca Cemetery like a funeral dirge. The swine flu pandemic in Mexico was soon to follow, leaving 398 dead and hundreds more infected, 536 of whom came from La Junta. Should you feel compelled to see the birthplace of the Mothman, Point Pleasant, West Virginia welcomes you with open arms. Since the events of 1966, the residents haven't been, quite right. A touch, shall we say, peculiar. They host an annual Mothman Festival, and on 4th Street, you'll find a statue created in his likeness. But perhaps the most grim is the Silver Memorial Bridge, constructed in 1969. It's still there today. For now. But as we've discussed, the Mothman no longer calls Point Pleasant home. He's traveled the globe in search of man's annihilation. Perhaps he's in your town, an antecedent to your last amen. Let us end tonight's sojourn with a final quote from John Milton's Paradise Lost. What hath night to do with sleep? What nocturnal creatures roam the streets of your community? What do they plot while man slumbers? It takes only one survivor to tell their tale. Will the next eyewitness be you? And will your mind be able to withstand the shock? I do hope you enjoyed tonight's little program. For tomorrow, you could be our next show subject of interest. Only time can tell for certain now. But if I were you, I would err on the side of caution. And as always, remember me as you scroll by. If you like our show, then please subscribe. As we are now, so you must be. Prepare for death, and follow me. Hit it, Bugsy.